Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time this morning. It's 11:15, and I wanted to introduce you all to Joe Markland. This morning, Joe will be talking about leveraging the internet and mobile technology to bring efficiency to HR and benefits. Our firm has had the pleasure of working with Joe for quite a while now. He's part of a leading technology consultant that has worked with over 1,500 employers at this point. A great resource to have. Someone we've recommended frequently. So we appreciate his time this morning and wanted to introduce him, and I'll let Joe take it from here.
Great. Thank you, Brooke. Today I'm going to talk about HR and benefits and payroll technology. So what's going on in the human capital management technology space. And hopefully, as Brooke said, we've been doing this since 2000 or 2001. And we work with about 30 employers a month. I'm putting in web-based HR benefits payroll technology solutions. So when you work with 30 employers a month, you know, they pretty much tell you what they have, what they want, what problems they're having. And so we have a pretty good idea what's going on in the marketplace. And today I'm going to share with you some new ideas. Hopefully, you know, you come to these webinars, if you could walk away with one or two good ideas, that would be great. And my goal here is to give you some ideas, just a different way to think about how technology is going to impact the HR world that I think you could take forward to the benefit of your organization. I call it introducing HR benefits technology 3.0, a different way to think of HR and technology, HR and HR technology. I'll try to get this through as quickly as possible, so you don't take up too much of your time. People always ask me, what's an HR system? Or, you know, I'll go into an employer, I'll say, well, what system are you using? And they'll say something like, you know, ADP or Kronos or Paychex or Ceridian or Ultimate or Excel spreadsheets or whatever it may be. And I said the true test of how many systems you have is ask and take a piece of paper and answer this question. If an employee were to change your last name, how many places would you have to change it? Well, that somewhat is the complexity of your HR system. It may be an Excel spreadsheet that you track time off on, or who has what benefits. It may be your payroll system, a time and attendance system. You know, there's a shared drive that you store documents, or a paper folder that you store documents, whatever it may be. And then there's third parties that need the data, insurance companies, your 401k company, you know, the state and federal tax agencies that need to know who these people are and, you know, who you're paying taxes on. So that's the test of this. And I start by saying, though, from a technology standpoint, I remind everyone technology is just a tool to solve a business problem. And I'll say at a very high level, a lot of people approach the purchase of HR and technology the wrong way. And that's because they think the technology is the end, not just a tool. So I'm going to give you some ideas today that could change your thought process on this whole idea of HR benefits technology. But before getting into this, I kind of sound a little preachy here. I advise anyone in any industry that understanding the tools of your profession is your job. And the analogy I use is here at the very top. You could see a drone, right? And you say, you know, and if I were a realtor, and let's assume I was a realtor on the Cape, and you want to sell my house, that realtor would need to know how to come to my house and take pictures, whether it's landscape or portrait, how many pixels. I may have to take you know, if you had a great piece of land, you may have to take a overhead view of that property to put on the internet. And then you'd have to go back to your office and upload those pictures to the web to present my house properly. You know, but in order to do that, that would not make me a photographer. It would not make me a technologist. It would not make me a drone pilot. It would make me a better realtor. So that is kind of my message for if you're in the HR world. Understanding the tools of your profession does not make you a technologist. It would make you a better professional in your world. So hopefully today I'm going to give you a little understanding of where I see that world going. And here's an example of that. Here is ADP's Workforce Now system out of the box. Obviously ADP is, I think, you get 35 or 40% of the market, so a lot of people have that. And you could use it as an HR system, a payroll system. But you could also make it look like this. So it could be an engaging employer to an employee communication tool where you promote your brand, promote your culture. As you can see on this page here, if I have open enrollment, you could put on here, click to enroll. I could put the company holiday schedule, the employee hand. You could have employee of the month or the company news or the time off. And in this, right? This is the same technology as this right here. In fact, it's the same system. But moving it from one to the other, that's a difference at understanding that ADP is not just a payroll company anymore, nor Ceridian or Ultimate Software, whoever. And they're not only just HR systems anymore. They're technology and tools to create a better communications between yourselves and your employees. And obviously it's only not just here. And once again, promote your brand, promote your culture within your organization. So we work with a lot of employers to take their HR technology and make it better. So what we see is we think there are great opportunities in HR to improve operational efficiency, expand employee self-service, both web and mobile, extend benefits to address things like employee well-being. Those are the new buzzwords he's right, to address all the millennials, financial, physical, emotional wellness. To improve employee productivity, free up time to work more strategically, leverage big data. Basically, large companies like the ADPs, the Ultimates, the Ceridians, you're able to compare data in your system to data in other people's systems, such as what are average incomes, what are benefits contributions, what is your employee turnover rate, things like that. That's leveraging big data. If you're using a system that a lot of other people are using, then you get the benefit of comparing what's going on in your business to other companies that may be like yours. If I want to know, I'm an auto dealer in the Boston market, and I want to know how many other auto dealers are probably using ADP, and I could do a comparison of stuff. Obviously, the data is personal in a sense. They don't show you who these companies are and everything, but they allow you to compare data. Manage healthcare costs. There really is a better world out there. And you can leverage the latest technology. Your web, tablet, mobile, employees can access information from any location. I could tell you definitively, my son, when he went to buy his first car last year, when he graduated from college, he went to do the deal on his car on a Thursday, and then went to pick it up on a Saturday. And when he got there, the guy, the guy at the car dealer says, "Okay, do you have your employee, your pay stub, because we want to get your loan approved?" And he says, "I don't have my pay stub." And then he remembered he had it on his cell phone, so he logged into his cell phone. He got his pay stub and emailed it, because he had an online portal through his payroll vendor, and he emailed it to the person to email the pay stub. He got approved for his loan, and he drove off the lot with his car that day. Without that mobile phone, he would not have gotten his car, and I'm sure as a 23-year-old buying his first car, he would have been quite disappointed. So there's a direct application of, an employer providing an employee information that really gave them a better day. So there are different ways to access stuff. My employees, they all request time off on their cell phone. So there's a better world out there, but there's many obstacles in a way. So how do you get to this better world? I don't know about you, but in my personal life, how many times you walk by something and you say, "I got to fix that," and 6 months later you still have to fix that, because there's a better way. You could take HR to a better place, but it does take time. There's many obstacles in a way. So I kind of identify those obstacles. First of all, you've got a convergence going on. You got new laws and benefits. So if I'm an HR person and I need to help my employer, or maybe I'm the CEO and I want to help my own business manage things better, manage employee data better, be able to eliminate redundant processes, give supervisors and managers access to stuff, my employees access information. So you have all these plans, but then you have new laws and benefits. Obviously, you have the ACA. If you're in Massachusetts, you got new time off laws or vacation laws and benefits. You got a changing workforce, right? You got millennials. Or do I need to go further? You got new technologies, both web and mobile. You got an administrative burden, and you got rising healthcare costs, which also consume people. So you got what I consider the perfect storm. So it wasn't until probably I'll say 2014 when the technology is getting to the point to provide such a better world for HR. But when you look at what happened since 2014, you got a pretty busy world. And then the other thing impacting HR is this right here. The average employer works with 10 to 15 vendors, right? Whether it's insurance companies, wellness providers, your HR, your STD, your COBRA administrator, maybe you have an EAP, time and attendance system. So you got all these vendors, and they're not always linked together, right? We work with Aisling and Brooke on benefits, right? But if you put in an HR benefits payroll solution and you want your employees to go online to see what their benefits are, well, probably working with Aisling, they would put it all together. But who has your 401k? Is that it's someone else, right? What's your time off calendar? Who's your COBRA administrator? So all these companies are really a bunch of pieces in this world, and it's hard to manage. Oops, sorry, going the wrong way here. So what you really got is, I like to say, the problem is you have too many systems, too many logins, too many processes, too many forms, too many vendors, too much data, and too little time. So when you have problems, you got to say, what is the cause of the problem? Why is not our medical bill the right way? Or why do I have compliance problems? Why can't I be doing all these things? Well, because you got already a busy world. Same reason why I don't fix some of the things at my house. I've got a busy day. But the key concept on the number one. I like to kind of summarize it in 4 key concepts, I think, in this presentation. The infrastructure of technology and service vendors is not aligned with the needs and capabilities of the current and future HR environment, which is really why we work with Brooke and their team, is because they're in a benefits business. We have the HR and payroll technology and bring it all together. Okay, so when you have an infrastructure that is so with disparate companies, it's pretty hard to get everyone together to make it all work together nicely. Here's another thought I throw out there: get engaged and simplify. That's a Steve Jobs rule. I like to say about HR technology or even medical insurance, if Apple were creating this stuff, it wouldn't be so complex. So simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get thinking clean to make it simple, but it's worth it in the end, because once you get there, you can move mountains. Most HR systems were used by the HR staff or managers. When you take things out to the employees, it better be simple. Simplify, less is the new more. And we know that, right? My wife can't change the, I don't want to put my wife under the bus here. She doesn't have a vote in that I'm bringing her up in a conversation. But her clock in her car is right twice a year because she doesn't know how to change a clock in her car for daylight savings time. So I'm not sure if it's right now or wrong now, but I think it's right again. But you have a car and you don't even know how to change the time. Where my car is really easy to change the time. But simplify, less is the new more. But it's important if you're going to deploy employee self-service, you got to think of these users. These users aren't being trained. They want access to stuff. It needs to be easy. So what we see, another big change going on, the changing HR ecosystem. There's a move towards simplification. And here's where I'll kind of make it a little analogous to things in your personal world. But technology 1.0, when I got in this business in really 1998, 2001, somewhere in there, people were putting and the web came along. You had HR systems, you had benefit systems, you had payroll systems, time and attendance systems, you had performance management systems, you had recruitment systems. And what I call technology 2.0, which kind of happened more in 2014, everyone is pushing towards this world of a single system for HR benefits, payroll, and time and attendance, okay? And we did a lot of consulting, and 86% of employers that we consulted on technology solutions in 2016, and I'll say it's playing out in 2017, are looking for a single system. And the core system would be HR benefits, payroll, time and attendance. And while we may think of these things in buckets, the employees don't think of that way. And maybe you shouldn't either. I have 100 people. I track information on those 100 people. Those 100 people may have want access to stuff. They don't want to think, well, I've got a payroll bucket and I have an HR bucket and I have a benefits bucket. They just think, I work for you. Can I have access to stuff that you have that I may want? Like, what are the holidays scheduled at Christmas time or whatever? Well, we are now moving to the HR Tech 3.0, the HR ecosystem. And I think this is a quite a bit of I'll call it a paradigm shift. And you should really consider in thinking about this, because it's a definitely total different way to think about the HR, this technology space. And here's my analogy. I'm full of analogies. You know, in 2006, I had an iPod, a flip phone, a camera. If I rented a car, I had a GPS. And in January 2017, the iPhone came out. And when we saw that commercial, if I often play it, you knew what you had in your pocket was obsolete. Everyone knew what they wanted. And that first iPhone commercial just showed you how to use things. I think a person was looking up a restaurant and then got directions to that restaurant and then called on that restaurant to make a reservation, and that was the iPhone commercial. It was everything all in one, and you had your music on there too. You know, the iPods, if you were given a free iPod today, would you take it? So we see this is going on, the HR technology space. Employers are moving to a single system right now. And you got to ask, what is the hub and what is the spoke? You know, if you're in if you're an HR technology company, you don't vote on whether all these things need to come together. No different than you're in the cell phone business. You didn't vote to be in the camera business, but you are, and you couldn't sell your cell phone if you didn't have a camera in it. So you don't get to choose what you want to be. And there's lots of benefits to a single system. You know, single setup, single company structure, no duplicate data. Anyone who tells you we integrate with and it's easy, call them a liar and tell them please leave. Integration is the #1 problem when having systems, multiple systems. So there's lots of benefits to a single system, and talk about simplification. So integrated reporting, ACA tracking is easier, user interface is easier. There's a single mobile app, you got lower costs, what I call accrued benefits. And accrued benefits is every one of these things individually may be worth like 1 point, but collectively they're worth 100. So you add them all together and you get something that's really, really great. So integration is synonymous with problem or fumble in my book. Now the other thing, what do I mean by the ecosystem? And this is the new aha moment I hopefully bring to this conversation here, or this one-way conversation. In 2007, there were no apps built by anyone. If you broke your phone, you sent it to Apple. If you wanted an app, it was an Apple app. Okay, all the car chargers and everything were built by Apple. Now here we are in 2017. There are 1.5 million apps. You could be hands-free in a car. You got Bluetooth. If you broke your phone, you take it to some at the mall, and some kid who has a booth probably fixes the glass, and that's a good thing for my daughter and son who drop their stuff all the time, and they refuse to buy the covers that I tell them to buy. But the point is the ecosystem around Apple, the iPhone, and probably Samsung is huge. Therefore, there's benefits of having an iPhone, right? The fact that I get my text message on my iPad and not just my iPhone, so I'm sitting there reading and a text message comes in, I don't have to, I have the iPhone, my daughter may text me, okay? So there's benefits of having a system that lots of people are using. Because if lots of people are using, then there's a lot of other people who want to make money by building stuff that works with that system that they have. So technology 3.0 is people building services around the market leading systems. For example, you could I'll use ADP example. We helped a client in Waltham, 400 employees, and their payroll person quits, on a Tuesday, and they got to process payroll on Friday. Well, we have people on staff who jumped in and helped them process payroll on Friday, but because they're using a system that lots of people are using, therefore there's people out there who could provide services around a system that lots of people are using. If you're using a system that lots of people aren't using, then you could be stuck because there's not a pool of people who are available to help with that system. No different than, I use Microsoft Office in my company. When I hire someone, the fact that they know Excel or Word or PowerPoint is a benefit. Okay, if you use some software that now not a lot of people understood, then it would be harder to find people. So there's this world popping up around these technology platforms, the market leading ones, and you can know who the market leading ones, and they're going to have a broader infrastructure supporting them that don't work for these companies than other companies, whether it be, people integrating systems like recruitment, performance management. I continue to say the hub of the wheel is HR benefits, payroll, time, and attendance. You may have wellness programs and financial wellness, employee discount programs. You could put in text messaging in here if you want to text your benefits counselor. You could do that. We work with Aisling to do that. You could put it inside of ADP or Ceridian or Ultimate. Integrate administrators or HR consultants or payroll people. It's that opportunity to access other services. So key concept number 2 is the ecosystem built around a platform should matter in your decision process, because you'll have more benefits to that. All right, you go to Best Buy and they have an Apple section, right? And they have a Samsung section to buy tools and resources. But in the end, the technology will be the commodity. People ask me, what's the difference between ADP, Ceridian, and Ultimate? And I say, one's blue, one's green, and one's yellow. They may not be that way exactly today, but these companies could only write so much code. So in the end, it's about, the technology be the commodity. But this is also a big decision, because once you buy, and the world knows, once you buy into one of these systems, let's assume you put in a system, HR benefits, payroll, time, and attendance, and now you said, this guy Joe spoke to me and talked about how I could promote my brand and culture. So now you dress it up and you promote your brand and culture, you make it look real good. And then your supervisors are approving everyone's time off. Your employees are using it to request time off and see what their benefits are and download pay stubs. Well, your switching costs after that are much higher. So as you start adding more functionality used by more people, you put in more data and more historical data, and you got workflows and reports, employees are getting used to it. The cost to switch is a lot greater than it was to switch, say, a payroll company a few years ago. So that's why all the technology vendors want to be the system of record for you. They've got an absolute sprint going on to be the system of record. And I caution anyone that this is a HR technology war, and the cost to be in this war can be very high. So when you bet on a technology vendor, if they're not profitable, if they don't have $200 million in the bank, then you got to be very wary of them. Who could compete with Apple and Samsung today? It would take a lot of money to get in the business. Tesla is trying to get in the auto dealer business, and they raised billions of dollars, and they're not out of the woods yet. So here's another concept. What is the difference between this and this? What emotion does this drive, right? Southwest, you think reliable, safe, affordable. I think United, because I fly United a bit, and I think late, tight seats, scrambling to get on. So when I flew I gave this presentation live in Seattle, and I was flying from here to Seattle, and I said, and people asked me, if someone would ask me, well, what did you fly? I would have said JetBlue. But what really, I didn't really fly JetBlue. I really flew a Boeing 737, and that's what this is. In spite of the different emotion you may get or the different brand you may perceive around these two vehicles, these are the exact same planes. Southwest entered the business in the early 70s, and they said, we want to fly more people cheaper to more places. And they said, in order to do that, we have to eliminate the obstacles to success. We can't board the plane the same way. We can't fly into the same airports. We can't have 10 different types of planes. We can't service them. So they eliminated all the obstacles to success. So I came up with a list of 54 obstacles that are prohibiting the success for employers reaching this better place, to have the most efficient HR. And some of these things, you just got to break down the barriers. If Southwest said we're going to fly 8 different types of planes, and they would have to start parts for 8 different types. They have to have pilots for 8 different types. They have to have mechanics for 8 different types. So we came up with 54 obstacles to success. A lot of it has to do with internal capacity, capability, and vision. but too many places, data store, disconnected Cobra Flexible Administrator, overpaying for one of the product or service providers. Financial money is another thing. So there's lots of things that could prohibit you from having success, no different than the Southwest approach. So my concept number 3 is you could separate the technology from the servicing of the technology. You could actually, if you had ADP, you could keep ADP technology and fire their service. If you had Ceridian or someone else, you could fire their service. There are service providers popping up all around the place that could provide some service to make your HR better. And another analogy to that, or example of that, I have a Dell server in my closet. Dell has never been in my office. The person who services my server is a guy down the street who has an IT business that servers my server. So what we're also going to see is a change going on in the marketplace. You're not going to have to switch out your technology because the service is terrible. You could fire your service. And that's a thought no one thinks of. Well, I get on the phone with people that say, well, I have ADP and their service stinks. Okay, well, let's replace their service. And let's do that. So you should never have to leave your technology vendor because of bad service. And if the switching costs are real high, then the pain to change is so high, what you want to do is solve the problem, not create another problem by switching out companies. So let me quickly go through the vendor market. I'm going to try to pay attention to the time because I don't want to keep you here all day. I've already given you hopefully 3 new ideas. The HR ecosystem, what will it take to win? It will require a large user base, adequate base technology, open API, which means they could talk to other systems, lots of capital, a proper service model, a proper distribution model. So I was talking to an analyst the other day who's investing in the human capital management space, and it was pretty interesting because in 2015 there was $2.4 billion invested in HR technology. It's kind of odd to see a TV commercial on HR technology from Namely or Kronos or something like that. No one ever advertised on TV. Now they're advertising on TV. Very unusual. And one analyst said, when they invest $2.4 billion in the business in 2015, what do they do it in 2016 and 17? They spend it. They spend it on marketing and TVs and building their infrastructure. So everyone knows that there's a mad race going on to be the system of record. And it is a cutthroat, very intense technology game going on. So the cost to invest, if you are an HR technology company and you wanted to provide one of these solutions, you would have to have $10 to $50 million in the bank. If you want to be a single platform, HR benefits and payroll, anywhere from $50 to $200 million. To be a successful company with the HR ecosystem, you're going to need $150 million or more. So this is why one of the things that we pay attention to is how much money these guys have in the bank and how much they're investing in technology. Because we all know what is coming, which is artificial intelligence. I've got a Amazon Echo on my desk, and I have some of my benefits and my HR programmed into my Amazon Echo. You will be able to ask, I can't even say Alexa because my Amazon Echo would turn on, how many vacation days do I have left, or what is my insurance deductible? So which HR benefit technology companies are building apps for the Amazon Echo right now? All right. So benefits of buying into a developed ecosystem: more products and services, lower costs, less risk, easier to use for employers and employees. For HR, it's better data and larger user group, easier to find service providers and internal resources, and as I said, leveraging big data. Key concept number 4 then, the amount of money a vendor has does matter. There will be a widening gap between the leaders and the followers. And I think I have key concept number 5 right away without 5 slides ahead of it. One of the most effective ways to reduce cost and time is to get someone else to do the work. This is where employee self-service comes in. So now you're going to deploy something employee self-service. Just a few things to keep in mind. The average person has 18 usernames and passwords in their lives, and 40% of people request lost my password per month. So when a lot of people put in systems, the number one question to HR is, what's my password again? Or how do I find my password again? So as you deploy solutions, keep the end user in mind because they can make your life easy. They could reduce costs. by getting them to do things, right? When I get my airline ticket, I took a train from New York the other day. Everything was done, you know, online on my cell phone. So as it's going to go to web and mobile, you can see here, this is, I think, Kronos, time and labor management, human resources, payroll, all on cell phone, tablet, mobile. So to summarize this presentation, hopefully I've thrown enough 3 points. I'm at the end. The HR technology market is providing opportunities not seen before, right? When my son can download his pay stub and send it to his, the auto dealer sales guy, and he gets his car that day. Actually, the other thing he did that day was he got his insurance, and he bought his auto insurance online that morning. The current infrastructure is not designed to ensure success. There's 54 obstacles. And if you are not willing to get rid of those obstacles, like Southwest Airlines did, then it's hard to achieve your objective. If you stick to processes that are outdated, if you do things in your environment that no one else does, no technology company could possibly program something that you and only you do. Why would they build and write code around something that you and only you do? So fitting in the box is a lot easier than not, which is why Apple really, they wanted to be a components business, and the difference between Wozniak and Steve Jobs says we need to control everything to make it easier. It was kind of the opposite of how Apple started. There is a technology war going on, and money matters. The growing ecosystem around market leaders will be valuable. Separate the technology from the service. Employee self-service is a requirement in your plan and can reduce cost and time. Expanded benefits can be administered through the system. So these are the key components, and hopefully some new ideas you got out of the technology, this presentation today. I know some of it is probably logical, but some things people never heard of before. You mean I could fire the technology, I could fire their service and buy someone else? Or the fact that when someone quits on a Tuesday, you can hire someone by Thursday to process your payroll. Or you saw those before and after screens of ADP Workforce Now. Hopefully those are just a totally different way you think about deploying technology. It will be an expectation. I personally believe all employers with as few as 20 or more employees will have such a system that has HR benefits, payroll, time and attendance, both web, mobile, available within 2 to 3 years. It will be an expectation from incoming employees to provide that. So, some things you have to do because there's an ROI, and I think there's an ROI. Other things you have to do to remain competitive in the marketplace. And I think this is going to be one of those things within 3 to 5 years. So if you have one of the things we do for as a partnership with Aisling is we could do a free assessment. We would come in if you are interested. We would analyze your needs. It takes about an hour. When I say improve what you have, recommend new solutions. If that's your goal, improve what you have or recommend new solutions. So when we do an analysis, we could say, you want to fix what you have, or do you want to look at something new? Then we would come back a few weeks later and present 5 to 6 options, schedule demos, discuss options, vendor negotiation, support the implementation. We work with all the leading vendors, and the first thing we do is say, do you fix what you have or do you try something new? And we offer a free assessment if you want to do that. So that's not really I guess it'd be a sales pitch if I were charging you, but if it's free, it's free. So that is a summary of my presentation. I'll now take any questions. One of the questions was, what do you think of Namely? Namely is a new vendor. They have a very slick using user interface, but they still need to be profitable and they have a way to go. So you got to be one of those companies who likes the feeling of betting on the new guy in the marketplace. One of the questions I always ask, I'll answer myself is which technology vendor is better than the other? Right now, I'll say that for the majority of clients that we put in systems, every system I show them will work. The technology, for the most part, is well ahead of employers' ability or needs as it relates to technology. So they all work. It really says, is it easy for you or not? Is cost an issue? There are low-cost solutions and high-cost solutions. I believe there are solutions that are affordable for any size client. Think of a 20-person firm. If something were $20 per employee per month for HR benefits, payroll, time, and attendance, so you could put in systems for that. That's $400 a month, $4,800 per year. I mean, 20 employees, if you're doing $150,000 of revenue per employee, you're a $3.5 million business. $4,800 for a system to manage HR benefits, payroll, time is insignificant to manage a population as small as that. Well, if there's no other questions, I appreciate your time. You could send me an email or send Brooke an email. Or give me a call. Otherwise, thank you very much. Brooke, you can finish it up.
Yeah, Joe, thank you. We appreciate your time, and it's such great information, and it's such an incredibly relevant topic, and it's just obviously, and clients know, growing like weeds. So good to know. And obviously, everyone, if you want to get in touch with Joe, you have his information there. As Joe said, and as we've said, we can refer and we can connect you guys. So please feel free to reach out to your account manager. We'd be more than happy to kind of play a role in that. So again, Joe, thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye now.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.